All right, guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how much money should you make on your assignment fee as a wholesaler. Now, this comes from two different places. One, I've seen this question asked inside of our free Facebook group, The Vault, probably 5 to 7 times over the past couple of weeks, where it's like, hey, I just don't know how to calculate how much I should be making as the wholesaler. And then the second place is seeing the JV deals that get sent to us on a daily basis. Okay. So the way that works is if you have a property under contract and you want to do a JV with Titanium Investments, we have you email all of the details to jv@titanium.investments. I apologize about my camera shaking. I'm on dog duty this week. My dog just walked by and totally banged into my desk. So I apologize if you guys hear them or the desk shakes again. But we have those JV deals get sent to us on a daily basis. And what we see is one of the questions that we ask is okay, what price do you have it under contract for? And then how much do you want to market the deal to end buyers for? And at times we just see this arbitrary number where it's like, hey, I have it under contract at 100,000 and then I want to market it for 120,000. And then we'll reach out to that JV partner and we'll say, how did you come up with that you want to sell this for 120,000? And as crazy as this sounds, a very common response that we get from JV partners is I want to make $20,000, or I know that I'm going to be splitting the wholesale fee with you guys 50-50. I at least want to make $10,000 on this. Well, here's the thing. As a wholesaler, we have two responsibilities. That's to, one, solve the seller's problem, okay, by buying their real estate. And then two, providing equity and cash flow to our end buyers. If we aren't doing one of those things, then we're not doing our job as the wholesaler. And in return, you don't get paid if you're not doing your job. And so you can't just throw an arbitrary number out there and say, this is how much I want to get paid if you did not earn that assignment fee. If you did not buy the property at a steep enough discount to get a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 assignment fee, then you're not going to get it. It doesn't work for your end buyer. And even if it were to work that one time, you really wouldn't want that, because you want your end buyer to be successful so they come back to you and buy deal after deal after deal. And if you're selling it at too high of a price, they're going to remember that. The deal's not going to work out. It's not going to be advantageous for them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring open our profit calculator. And I've got a pretty generic example here, right? After repair value, $200,000. The repairs, $40,000. Contract price to seller, $85,000, and then the wholesale fee is $15,000. So we're selling it to our end buyer for $100,000, leaving our end buyer with a potential profit of $36,000. So it goes ahead and it calculates the closing costs, the holding costs, all of the expenses, and it says, hey, they're going to do $40,000 worth of rehab to then potentially make $36,000 worth of profit. This is a deal that the majority of end buyers would do, right? We like to keep that repairs and potential profit kind of similar to each. It doesn't have to be one for one, but pretty close, because that's where end buyers are going to say, hey, it makes sense. All right. Now, let's change this scenario and say we're on the phone with the seller, and the seller says my asking price is $100,000. And so what you see is $100,000, and the ARV is 200. This is what the majority of the time what we see here is we see people say, well, we might be able to get the rehab done for 30. So they shift that down. So instead of being aggressive with that number, they're like manufacturing the numbers to where they want them to be. And then they say, well, I don't have any buyers in this area, so I want to JV with someone out there, and I still want to make my 12 grand. So I want to do that. Now, on paper, it's like, well, it's 30,000 work, 22,000 in profit. That profit percent's getting pretty slim, 11%. And it's like, so you start finagling it and you go, well, I do see this one comp that can put us at 210,000. Okay. You see, so you move the ARV up, you move the repairs down, and then you moved your wholesale fee up. But the reality of it is the real numbers are still 200,000 on the ARV. The rehab is still 40,000. So you're doing $40,000 worth of work. And if that's a blue sky scenario, everything has to go right for your end buyer to make 12,000. This is where we decline JV deals and we say, we don't see those numbers working out. We don't agree with your after repair value. We don't agree with your repairs. And we don't think that that's a deal that should be making $24,000. Now, if you want to get more realistic about it and maybe go back to the seller and get this at a price that you probably should be getting it at, now this is a deal that we would potentially work on. Okay. This is how this is where the saying around here at Titanium, it's math, not magic, comes from, because we see it and people go, well, I feel like someone could come in. There could be a buyer out there that says they could get the work done for 30,000. Maybe they've got their own crews, and you start sounding like that seller on the phone where it's like, well, yeah, you're saying $40,000 at work, but I bet you if you come in here and you lay those floors down yourself and you paint the walls yourself, you can get it done for a lot less. We just should not underwrite and run our numbers that way. That just means you're not doing a good enough job as a wholesaler. If your numbers are off, this is why you should always have the profit calculator open when you're talking to a seller, because if the numbers are off, this is where you have this educational conversation with a seller and you explain to them, I'm seeing that if the property were completely fixed up, it could go for $200,000, and you get them to agree to that number. You get them to verbally say, yeah, I agree. If the property was fixed up, it would go for $200,000. Okay. And then based off of the condition that you've expressed to me and you've told to me today, I'm feeling like it's going to take around $40,000 worth of work. And then they're going to rebuttal back and they're probably going to say something like I just said. Well, I don't know. I think you could probably get it done for like 25, 20, something like that. And then you say, listen, I'm a professional. I've been doing this for a while. I mean, just use like an example of just the cost of flooring material and then multiply that by the square footage of the house. You start seeing how thousands of dollars starts evaporating into thin air. And you explain to them, like, we've got to do a lot of work that you said here. This is how I'm coming up with the $40,000 rehab number. Based off of that, if I were to come in and I were to pay you this number, $90,000, this is what I'm staring at, because I've got holding costs, I've got closing costs, and you start educating them. If you get that seller to agree to the after repair value and the rehab number, they cannot argue with the closing costs. They cannot argue with the closing costs, and they will not argue with you on the amount of profit that you're making, as long as it's a reasonable number where you can literally say, I stand to make, if everything goes great, 18% profit on this deal. Okay. When you explain that to them, they're not going to argue with you. Okay. This is why we believe when you have the profit calculator and you're struggling to underwrite a deal and you're trying to figure out, like, how much money can I make in this scenario? You should be playing around inside the profit calculator to first and foremost make it a win for your end buyer. Okay. Then start having the conversation to make it a win for the motivated seller. And wherever that lands, that's what you're making as the wholesaler. That's the spread that you make for yourself during that conversation. Not after you've got it under contract and then you arbitrarily decide that I want to make 20, I want to make $30,000. You want to make those spreads? I'll be honest with you. You're going to make those on higher price points. The higher the price point, the more margin there is available for you to make as a wholesaler. If you're going to go out and you're going to wholesale a bunch of properties with after repair values, 100,000 and below, it's going to be hard for you to make that. If you're wholesaling houses with ARVs of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make $20,000, $30,000 assignment fees. This is why you see the assignment fees so much higher in places like Vegas, Phoenix, the DC area, and places like Ohio, Michigan, Alabama, Missouri, a lot lower. It's all based around the math. So when you're on the phone, do the math. It's not magic, okay? You're not going to be able to just turn around and tell us or tell your end buyer, well, as the wholesaler, I wanted to make this much. I understand. We have a need to make money. We need to make profit. We need to cover our overhead. But it's our job to earn that during the acquisitions and the analyzing and underwriting phase, not during the dispositions phase and trying to manufacture that and say, that's how much I want to make. Earn it. Don't try to force it. All right? Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a like. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you.